Assalamu alaikum. Mohammad Sattar with the late night news. A cabinet meeting held at Bongo Bhavan today with President Ershad in the chair discussed the agricultural credit situation and decided that in future defaulters of bank loan will not be able to be elected or nominated to the Upazila Porishads, municipalities, corporations and union porishads either as chairman or as members. A government handout said necessary amendment to the concerned law will be made soon for this purpose. The meeting also decided that the government will consider the amendment of laws for taking action against those defaulters of agricultural loan who are already working in the Upazila Porishads, municipalities, corporations and union porishads either as chairman or as members. A function was held in Dhaka today in observance of Victory Day. It was addressed by the Minister for Education Mahbubur Rahman, Minister for Labour and Manpower Abdul Rashid Engineer, State Minister for Agriculture and the Deputy Minister for Communication Mamdoudur Rahman. Speaking on the occasion, the Education Minister called for forging national unity at all levels. The Labour and Manpower Minister Abdul Rashid Engineer said the zeal and enthusiasm with which we earned independence now need be consolidated. State Minister for Agriculture, Professor Abdul Salam, said the present government is determined to bring about a revolutionary change in the socio-economic upliftment of the common man. Deputy Minister for Communications, Mamdoudur Rahman, said their sense of independence war was to build up a happier abode for our posterity. State Minister for Civil Aviation and Tourism, Sattar, has asked officials to work with utmost devotion and sincerity to make the civil aviation and tourism commercially more attractive both at home and abroad. The State Minister was addressing the officials of the ministry at his office today. Janab Sattar said both tourism and civil aviation needed modernization for rendering better services to the people to help achieve international standards. 2 persons were killed and nearly 60 others injured, 40 of them seriously, in a tragic road accident this afternoon near Faridpur on the Dhaka-Khulna highway. The mishap occurred when a passenger coach collided head-on with a minibus. Injured passengers of both the vehicles were immediately admitted to Faridpur Shodor Hospital. The people of Faridpur have donated blood for the injured. Chad says its forces have launched a counter-attack against the Libyan army, which it said yesterday had begun a new offensive in the north of the country. A statement from the Chadian Army Command says that 3 Libyan army columns who had attacked 3 towns had left 400 men and much heavy equipment. The 3 towns were held by former Chadian rebels originally allied to Libya who changed side in October. For the 3rd day running, thousands of students have been demonstrating in the streets of China's largest city, Shanghai. The demonstrators, who are calling for greater political freedom and human rights, say they will continue their demonstrations and sittings and may boycott classes until the mayor of Shanghai publicizes their demands. There has been a police presence, but Shanghai city authorities say government will not try to suppress the demonstrators as long as they do not break the law. The world could have 6.2 billion people by the year 2000. The figure is 27% more than in 1985. A U.S. Census Bureau report released today said world population was 3 billion in 1960 and 4.8 billion in 1980. The report said at least half the world's people now live in 4 countries: China, India, the Soviet Union, and the United States. UNICEF Director James Grant has said starvation, drought and disease kills an average of 280,000 infants every week. Delivering a report on situation of children in the world in 1987, Mr. Grant said with the implementation of UNICEF health measures, some 4 million children have escaped death in the past 5 years. With Christmas just around the corner, Santa Claus of Finland has started his traditional journey from Lapland to children throughout the world. He began his journey on a sledge drawn by 3 reindeers. That's all the news in this bulletin. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Mohammad Sattar with the late night news. A meeting of the High-Powered Facilities Board was held in Dhaka today with Deputy Prime Minister Maudud Ahmed in the chair. The board directed concerned agencies and organizations to gear up their activities in respect of providing infrastructural facilities to the industrial units located in different industrial areas under the control of the Ministry of Works, Dhaka Improvement Trust, and Bangladesh Small and Cottage Industries Corporation. The facilities include availability of gas, water, sewerage, electricity, and telephone to expedite implementation of industrial projects. The board meeting underscored the need for allocation of necessary funds for development of infrastructural facilities in the current revised annual development program. The board further decided to create permanent industrial exhibition center and permanent industrial display center in the country. It was also decided that specified number of industrial plots would be earmarked to accommodate joint venture industries. Deputy Prime Minister M.A. Mateen has called for working hard for the progress and prosperity of the country. Addressing a cross-section of people at Shahzadpur, he said, only through hard work we can increase the country's honor and dignity. The Deputy Premier in charge of Ministry of Home called upon the youth community to maintain peace in the society. Speaking at the closing function of an eye camp at Shahzadpur, he said, for saving the society from the curse of blindness, effective preventive measures will be more fruitful. The Deputy Prime Minister also addressed a function at Shahzadpur Kutibari organized by Robindra Porishad. Land Administration and Land Reforms Minister today opened a seminar on the role of Local Government Engineers Bureau in expanding technology in Kurigram. The opening session was also addressed by member of the Planning Commission, Dr. S.H.K. Yusufjai, and Fisheries and Livestock Secretary M.A. Said. Janab Maidul Islam underscored the need for introducing new technology, saying we should expand facilities of such technology to the common people for the greater benefit. He advised the participants to expand the biogas project. Later, the minister opened a biogas plant. Construction of a passenger shed at Bahadurabad Ferry Ghat and development of the road from Bahadurabad railway station to Ferry Ghat will be undertaken soon. This was stated by State Minister for Civil Aviation Tourism, M.A. Sattar, while addressing a cross-section of people at Bahadurabad Ferry Ghat yesterday during his visit to see the problems of the North Bengal-bound passengers and conditions of the railway station and the Ferry Ghat. The government has declared as essential all categories of services under the Sonali Bank. Bangladesh Post Office will issue a set of 2 commemorative postage stamps and 1 souvenir sheet on the occasion of International Year of Peace on Monday next. A first-day cover will also be issued at the same time. A 3-day regional workshop on women and the law of the SAARC member countries begins in Dhaka tomorrow. Begum Roshan Ashad will open the workshop. The 7th Youth Red Cross camp of the Bangladesh Red Cross Society begins in Dhaka tomorrow. The week-long camp is to be participated by Youth Red Cross members from various units of the society around the country. President Ashad has greeted King Birender Beer Bikram Shah Dev of Nepal on the occasion of his birthday. In a message, he expressed the hope that the existing cordial bonds of friendship, cooperation and understanding between our 2 SAARC countries will be strengthened in the years to come. A team of Sri Lankan government has held talks with Tamil militant leaders in a new attempt to start a dialogue between the 2 sides. A meeting in the northern city of Jaffna was the closest contact between the 2 sides for 18 months. And that's all the news in this bulletin. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Mohammad Sattar with the late night news. The Minister of State for Food, Sardar Amjad Hussain, has underscored the need for maintenance of peace and discipline in the society. Addressing a public meeting at Bhabaniganj High School premises in Bagmara, Rajshahi, the minister called upon all to participate in building the country under the leadership of President Ershad. The meeting was also addressed by the local MP. The minister said Parliament and democracy were saved through the passage of the Seventh Amendment, which expedited the withdrawal of martial law. He said the solution of national problems through discussions in Parliament is the only democratic means. The session of the High Court Division of the Supreme Court will be held at Rangpur and Joshua with immediate effect and until further orders. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh directed this in Dhaka today. According to two notifications, the Chief Justice has defined the powers and jurisdictions of Rangpur and Joshua High Court Division of the Supreme Court. The Administrator of Dhaka Municipal Corporation, Lieutenant Colonel retired M.A. Malik, has said the total number of rickshaws in the capital with valid license will not exceed 80,000 under any circumstances. The DMC has so far issued 60,000 licenses under its new system of issuing and renewing rickshaw license. The move began on the 25th of this month and ended today. Describing the objective of the drive, the administrator said the operation aims at having reliable statistics about the rickshaw and rickshaw pullers and detecting the number of rickshaws coming from outside which are plying in the municipal area illegally and causing harassment to the valid rickshaw pullers and owners. A research center for mathematics and physical sciences will be set up at Chittagong University soon. This was stated by the Vice-Chancellor of Chittagong University, Professor Mohammad Ali, while inaugurating the two-day international conference on mathematics and its relevant development at Chittagong University today. Some economists from Japan and Canada are also attending the conference. The veteran North Korean leader Kim Il-sung has been re-elected as the country's president at a meeting of the Supreme People's Assembly. Mr. Kim, who is 74, has ruled North Korea ever since it became a communist state in 1948. The Assembly is expected to make other appointments to senior posts in the state and government. The Chinese authorities have threatened to prosecute the organizers of a march by students through the suburbs of Peking last night, during which they chanted slogans calling for liberty and democracy. A Peking evening newspaper said the march was illegal and its organizers would be punished accordingly. The march took place in defiance of a ban by the city authorities following student protests throughout China for the past 3 weeks. Security forces are on a high state of alert at Rome airport and some Italian public buildings in response to repeated terrorist threats. Police officials with extra machine guns are patrolling the international terminal at Leonardo da Vinci Airport. The most recent threat was delivered to the Italian news agency in Beirut of blowing the city hall somewhere in Italy unless certain unnamed political prisoners were released soon. Islands in the South Pacific are on alert for a powerful cyclone which is slowly closing in on major population centers. The cyclone, known as Raja, has already prevented 4 rescue planes and a French Navy ship from reaching the tiny island of Futuna, whose 4,000 people are now cut off from the outside world. Fiji has set up a special task force to deal with the cyclone and has established 50 evacuation centers. And that's all the news in this bulletin. Khuda Hafiz.
Been considered important enough to reach television home viewers. But this news has gone one step ahead, and here are some funnies of the sporting events which took place over the year. Wishing our viewers a very happy new year, we end tonight's news at 10. Khuda Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum. Mohammad Sattar with the late night news. President and Begum Roshan Ashad attended a dinner at the police officers' mess in Dhaka tonight, marking the annual police week. On arrival, the President and Begum Ashad were received by the Deputy Prime Minister in charge of the Home Ministry, Professor M.A. Mateen, the Home Secretary and the IG of Police. The President and Begum Ashad moved among the police officers and their wives freely and inquired about their welfare. The dinner was attended, among others, by the Vice President Justice A.K.M. Nurul Islam, Deputy Prime Ministers, Ministers, high civil and military officials and their wives. Prime Minister Mizanur Rahman Chaudhry has called upon the people of all walks of life to follow Islamic values in their practical life with a view to ensure heavenly bliss in the world and the world hereafter. Speaking at an Islamic Jalsa in Dhaka this evening, the Prime Minister said the Quran and the Hadith could only guide the Muslims in their endeavors for a pious life. The TNT officials and employees organized the Jalsa. Terming Islam as a complete code of life, Janab Chaudhry said the present-day problems of various nature can be solved peacefully if the Islamic principles are followed. The Prime Minister said the life of Prophet Hazrat Mohammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a bright example of human qualities which, if followed, ensure a lasting peace in the society. And at another Waz Mahfil at Duhuri Tek Jami Masjid in Naushindi, State Minister for Communication Mamdood Rahman urged the people to acquire the teachings of Islam for solving all the worldly problems. The State Minister added that the present government has taken some steps to uphold the Islamic ideals in the country. Bangladesh and India today held talks covering the entire gamut of bilateral relations. Foreign Minister Humayun Rashid Chaudhry led the Bangladesh side, while Indian External Affairs Minister Narayan Dutt Tiwari headed his country's delegation. Bangladesh delegation included Irrigation and Water Resources Minister Anisul Islam Mahmood. All issues of common interest came up for discussions. The two sides reviewed the SAARC activities and discussed ways and means to further consolidate the regional cooperation. Bilateral issues like the sharing of the Ganges waters, the tribal and the Teen Bigha also came up for discussions. Planning Minister Air Vice Marshal A.K. Khandukar, retired, underscored the need for effective coordination towards implementing the development schemes undertaken throughout the country by the present government. He was addressing the closing function of the 31st Annual Convention of the Institution of Engineers, Bangladesh, in Kunla this evening. The minister lauded the role of engineers in building the country and bring about a dynamic change in the whole infrastructure of the development programs. The minister also said that the engineers of our country can play an effective role, no less than the foreign engineers, in shaping the country's development projects in line with the government's policy of putting the country on a sound economic footing. Textile Minister Shunil Gupta paid a surprise visit to Ahmed Bawani and Sherman textile mills in Dhaka yesterday. He expressed his satisfaction to see the quality products of sari, bedsheet and other items produced by the mills. He directed for proper marketing of the products throughout the country so that the buyers feel encouraged to buy country-made goods. Minister without portfolio and Jatiya Party Secretary General Major General Mahmood al-Hassan, retired, has said the present government under the leadership of President Ashad has taken up various development plan and welfare schemes for the country and the people. He was addressing the district-level officers of Pabna district in the local circuit house today. He urged the officers to work hard to improve the lots of common people. The minister advised the officers to handle all the local problems brought to them as their own and by which they will be able to win the heart of the people. A Jatiya Sanshad subcommittee meeting held in Dhaka today decided to send relief goods to the victims of cold wave in the northern districts of Thakurgaon and Panchgor. The meeting was presided over by the Chief Whip of the Sanshad, Dr. T.I.M. Fazle Rabbi Chaudhry. The relief goods like quilts and other winter clothes have been collected from the reserve of the MP hostels. A three-member team of MPs comprising Tajul Islam, Muhammadullah and Nurul Nabi Chand will go to Thakurgaon and Ponchagor for distribution of relief goods. Minister for Labour and Manpower Abdul Rashid Engineer has said the government of President Ashad is determined to take every possible steps to improve the condition of the industrial workers. He was speaking at a gathering of workers of Halima textile mills in Kumilla today. Janab Rashid said no government in past have taken so much welfare-oriented initiatives as the government of President Ashad. Janab Abdul Rashid Engineer and State Minister Mustafa Jamal Haider went there to see for themselves the condition of the workers who were on hunger strike. On the assurance of the Minister and the State Minister to consider their demands, the hunger strikers broke their fast at the Kumilla Press Club. Later, both the Minister went to Kumilla Shodar Hospital to see for themselves some other workers who were hospitalized. They also broke their fast on their assurance. SAARC Secretary-General Abul Ahsan has said the establishment of the SAARC Secretariat in Kathmandu will complete the institutional framework of the organization. The Secretary-General, who leaves Dhaka tomorrow for Kathmandu to take up as the first Chief Executive of the SAARC, told today that the formal inauguration of the Secretariat will mark the beginning of a new phase of activities for the Seven Nation Association. The SAARC Secretariat is scheduled to be launched on January 16, while the Secretary-General will also formally assume his office the same day. Foreign Minister Humayun Rashid Chaudhry and his counterparts from the 6 other member states are expected to attend the inauguration of the Secretariat by King Birendra Bir Bikram Shahdev of Nepal. The Secretary-General said that the Secretariat is expected to serve as a focal point and contribute the upholding of the ideals, aims and objectives of the SAARC Charter and promoting regional cooperation. Meanwhile, the Bhutanese Foreign Minister, Mr. Leonopo Dawazering, has said that regional cooperation can enhance the security of the small states while the military approach does not help solve the security problems. Mr. Zering was participating in the second-day discussion of the 3-day international seminar on the security of small states organized by Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies in Dhaka today. We shall have to get off the emotional and psychological barriers and create confidence and trust among ourselves, the Bhutanese Foreign Minister said. Giving a resume of the emergence of the South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, SAARC, Mr. Zering said, we shall have to overcome the past legacies of misgivings, suspicion and mistrust to the benefit of the SAARC. The Jatiya Party Parliamentary Board has nominated Dr. Lutfur Rahman Bishash to contest the by-election in Maniganj 2 constituency, a party press release said today. A week-long Asian workshop on popularization of science and technology to uplift the women's participation will be held in Dhaka from the 19th of this month. It has been jointly organized by the Commonwealth Science Council, UNESCO and Technology Division of the Ministry of Education. Eminent women scientists, technologists, educationists, planners, writers, broadcasters of scientific and technological matters of home and abroad will take part in the workshop. And that's all the news in this bulletin. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Mohammad Sattar with the late night news. Minister and Secretary General of Jatiya Party, Major General Mahmudul Hassan, retired, has urged the people to join hands with the cooperative movement now launched in the country. He was addressing a cooperative rally at Delduar Upazila in Tangail today. He said the majority of our people live in the villages and are below subsistence level, and it is only cooperative movement through which economic condition of them can be improved. The minister also unveiled the plaque of the newly constructed UCC building of Delduar Kendriya Samobai Samiti. The Minister for Social Welfare and Women Affairs, Begum Rabia Bhuiya, has underscored the need for appropriate measures to eliminate structural imbalance by securing women's equal participation in the development process. She was addressing the meeting of Commission on Status of Women at the United Nations yesterday. The minister said Bangladesh attaches great importance to alleviating the status of women. The Ministry of Women Affairs over the years has undertaken various programs for the development of women and children, she said. The minister said the government has placed great emphasis on primary health care programs, child health and immunization, and family planning activities. The minister told the commission that a National Council for Women had been working all over Bangladesh to formulate policies for the development of women. Advisor to the President, M. The Parliament Roundup by our special correspondent AZM Haider. Parliament today resumed its winter session after a week-long recess with Deputy Speaker Qurban Ali in the chair. Soon after the question hour, which was marked by lively exchanges between the members of the opposition and the Treasury benches, the House got worked up over the admissibility motions, call attention motions and privilege motion tabled by the opposition members. The fiery exchanges began with the Awami League leader of the opposition, Tufail Ahmed, rising on a point of order, drew the attention of the chair to the fact that the House had taken up legislative business in complete disregard of the adjournment and call attention motions moved by the opposition members on urgent matters of public importance. He also made a pointed reference to the order of the day, which included a motion of thanks on the President's inaugural address to Parliament pending in the name of the opposition member ASM Abdul Rauf. Janab Tufail said there is no parliamentary precedence to show an opposition member moving a vote of thanks to the President for his speech. But he could not proceed further because he was shouted down by the members of the Treasury benches. The opposition leader, Sheikh Hasina, was the next to take the floor. Unlike most of the lady members who are shy of speech, she was found to be repeatedly taking the mic and making bold political statements with her characteristic courage of conviction. Every time she stood up to speak, she pointed her finger to the chair, which was perhaps not quite parliamentary. But her statements were bitter in content. She said the opposition members had come to the Sanshad to voice the problems and aspirations of the people, and that was why they had tabled the motions. Deputy Leader of the House, Maudud Ahmed, said the opposition members had failed to take the earliest opportunity to raise their motions, and hence the House took up the legislative business. He further went on to add they would, however, get plenty of opportunity to raise their motions. After Janab Maudud resumed his seat, the House turned really noisy with shouts, counter-shouts, and desk bangings. At that stage, the chair adjourned the House for 15 minutes for Maghrib prayer. The recess, however, failed to cool down the passion, and the fireworks continued for quite some time when the House met after the recess. Repeatedly taking the floor, Sheikh Hasina claimed the opposition members returned to Parliament in the last elections to represent the people. Hence, they consider it an obligation to give vent to their demands and desires. Those who cross the floor and betray the people would always try to keep their voice suppressed. Continuing amidst shouts and desk thumping, she made indecorous references to the President. The chair expunged those expressions and requested her to use such words as would not be inconsistent with parliamentary decorum. She quickly replied only true representatives of the people who had been genuinely elected could maintain the sanctity of this august House. Those who had crossed the floor and betrayed the popular movement could by no means uphold the dignity of the House. Her satiric observation sent a ripple in the Treasury benches. Shocked to a statement of attention, the government members started shouting, and for some time the House drowned in the noise. At that stage, the leader of the House and Prime Minister Mizanur Rahman Chaudhry took the floor and appealed to both sides of the House to exercise restraint and called for tolerance to help build parliamentary tradition. He said, "Ours is a multi-party democracy. In this House, there are various parties with varied opinions and sharp differences. Every party has a right to express its views, and despite differences of opinion, it should be heard patiently." Speaking after the Prime Minister, the Deputy Leader of the House, Professor M.A. Mateen, requested the chair to expunge the entire speech of Sheikh Hasina as it contained indecent insinuations. Quick came the retort from Sheikh Hasina, "Why do you ask for expunging the opposition speeches? It is because of the fact that you are afraid of hearing what we say." Finally, it was agreed that the motions of urgent public interest would be taken up tomorrow to discuss the merit of their admissibility. After this hurdle was overcome, the chair called upon the opposition member ASM Abdul Rob to move his motion of thanksgiving on the presidential address to the parliament on the opening day. No sooner had he started his speech in support of the motion than the opposition members, including their leader Sheikh Hasina, started raising hue and cry. They took exception to the moving of the motion by an opposition member. This is unprecedented in the history of Parliament anywhere in the world. Their vitriolic attack on him enraged Janab Rob, who was heard saying amidst shouts and counter-shouts, "We must change the politics of attacking the government for everything. The government should be lauded for its good deeds and criticized for its misdeeds." He further went on to add, one is not necessarily a patriot because one is in the opposition. One need not be branded a traitor because one is with the government. His remarks were received with cheers by the members of the Treasury benches and hootings from the opposition. At one stage, the chair wanted to know the rule which can prohibit an opposition member to move a thanksgiving motion to the president. Opposition members, including Tofail Ahmed and Suranjit Chen Gupta, raised the question of parliamentary practice and convention. The speaker finally rejected their objection. After the deputy speaker's ruling, it turned out to be opposition versus opposition, while the government members were enjoying this fight. It climaxed with a walkout led by Sheikh Hasina, but the Muslim League and GSD members of the opposition did not join the walkout. 10 members of the Jamaat Islami were conspicuous by their absence even today. And that is the end of the Parliament Roundup. But instead of confessing its own follies, it kept its usual mumbo-jumbo. As a result, the House could not transact enough business. It all started when the House reassembled after the recess for Maghrib prayer, and the opposition leader Sheikh Hasina took the floor to inquire from the chair about the fate of the privileged adjournment and call attention motions tabled by members of the opposition. Industrial policy is industrialization of neglected areas. Official level meeting of Group of 77 is on. France to give 14,000 tons of food grains as grant. Pakistan speaks of continuing its nuclear program in the face of any threat. And Little Master of Indian cricket, Sunil Gavaskar, announces his retirement. Those were the headlines of the news at 10. Now, the details.
Assalamu alaikum. President Ershad has said the industrial policy of his government is aimed at industrialization of the neglected areas and building up an industrial infrastructure side by side with agriculture. He was addressing the inaugural ceremony of Kurigram textile mills at Kurigram this morning. On arrival at Kurigram, the president was given a rousing reception. The inaugural ceremony was also addressed by the Textile Secretary, local MP Tajul Islam and Noor Hasna Chaudhry, Land Minister AKM Moidul Islam and Textile Minister Shunil Gupta. President Ershad in his address said,
সেই মিলটির উদ্বোধনেরও সৌভাগ্য আমার হয়েছে। আমার সরকার আমি বিশেষ করে বিশ্বাস করি যে কর্মসূচি গ্রহণ করব সেটাকে বাস্তবায়িত করব। আমাদের কর্মসূচি কাগজে
President Ershad said his government has effected a number of programs for industrial development of the country and also for balanced development of all the regions. He said the new industrial policy effected by his government laid emphasis on the development of medium and small industries so that the entrepreneurs with limited capital can take part in the industrial development of the country. The policy, he said, also gave priority to the participation of the private sector in the country's industrialization. The president said we cannot depend for long on foreign assistance for our day-to-day necessities. We must produce all goods at home. In this context, the President urged the people to use domestic products to help flourish the country's industry. President Ershad hoped that the Kurigram's textile mills will not only generate employment opportunities for the local people, but also help them to achieve self-sufficiency in the production of cotton yarn. Speaking on politics, President Ershad said Hartal was never a mode of expression of public opinion and did not project the attitude of the people in respect of any matter. He said the peace-loving people in the cities do only surrender to Hartal call, being intimidated by hooligans let loose by the Hartal collars, and not to support it. President Ershad said the negative political measures like Hartal is limited within a few cities and townships, while the rest of the country, where 90% of the population live, do not respond to Hartal call. In this context, he referred to a Hartal call tomorrow by a section of student organizations demanding reductions in bus fare, and said it is expected of the students that they will devote to their studies to prepare themselves as worthy citizens, but instead a section of them are out to vitiate the whole academic climate. The President said matters like bus fare fall under the jurisdiction of the elected members of the Parliament and the government. It will be the members of the Parliament who will examine such matters to decide upon the question, he said. President Ershad mentioned about a procession brought out by a section of the students for auto pass in examinations. He said, being curious about such processions, I inquired about it and learned that the section of students even are not ready to take suggestive questions usually given by the teachers, nor are willing to sit for examinations. They want automatic pass, he added. He also mentioned another incident by a section of students in Chittagong University, where they called for observance of a 12-hour Hartal to press home their demand for shifting dates of examinations and en masse removal of their teachers. On second thought, they revised their Hartal program to 6 hours, thinking that 12-hour Hartal cannot be successful. The President said it was beyond the imagination of that section of students that despite revision of program, the Hartal was observed for 12 hours. This speaks of the hollowness of Hartal and proved that such Hartal is the outcome of fear, intimidation, and damage of property in the public mind. President Ershad said such politicking by a section of students has in fact telling effect upon the future of vast majority of students who want to pursue education in a congenial atmosphere. But such trend of taking the law in one's own hands by a section of students who are not even 10% of the total student community are destroying the very fabric of education in the country. He said if such things are allowed to continue unabated, the nation will be the ultimate loser. The President said in order to get rid of such unbearable plight, the guardians, the politicians and the elders should come forward unitedly to end such conditions and help maintain proper academic atmosphere in the interest of their wards and the nation.
আর সেই হিসাবে সরকার আগামী দিনে পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করবে। বাস ভাড়া কমাতে হবে কি বাড়াতে হবে সেটা ছাত্রদের কথা না, কাজ নয়। ছাত্রদের কাজ লেখাপড়া করা, কিন্তু এখন হচ্ছে সম্পূর্ণ উল্টো। তারা লেখাপড়া না করে অন্যের কাজে হস্তক্ষেপ করছেন। আপনারা শুনে আশ্চর্য হবেন, রাজশাহীতে এক শোভাযাত্রা বেরিয়েছে, সেখানে স্লোগান হলো আমাদের সকলকে পরীক্ষায় পাশ করে দিতে হবে, আর কোনো সাজেশন আমরা গ্রহণ করব না। তো সকলকে পরীক্ষায় পাশ করানোর কথাটা বোঝা গেল। আমি সেখানকার প্রিন্সিপালকে জিজ্ঞাসা করলাম যে এই সাজেশন গ্রহণ করাটা কি, সাজেশনটা কি? উনি বললেন যে পরীক্ষার আগে প্রতিটি পেপারে আমরা ধরেন 5টা প্রশ্ন আসবে, আমরা 20টা প্রশ্ন বলি, এই 20টা প্রশ্ন আসতে পারে। তো ছাত্রদের দাবি হলো না, 5টা প্রশ্ন আসলে 5টা প্রশ্নকে আমাদের বলে দিতে হবে, 20টা দিতে পারবেন না। এই যদি আমাদের শিক্ষার অবস্থা হয়, তাহলে আগামী দিনে বাংলাদেশে কি অবস্থা হবে আপনারা একটু অনুধাবন করার চেষ্টা করেন। আর এই ভয়াবহ অবস্থা থেকে জাতিকে বাঁচাতে হয়, এই একটা দুঃসহ অবস্থা থেকে জাতিকে মুক্তি দিতে হয়। তাহলে আমার একার পক্ষে সম্ভব নয়, সরকার একার পক্ষে সম্ভব নয়, আপনাদের সকলের এর মধ্যে সহযোগিতার প্রয়োজন। আপনার ছেলে, আপনার মেয়ে, আমার ছেলে, আমার মেয়ে এর মধ্যে জড়িত রয়েছে। তাই আমার ছেলের ভবিষ্যৎ, আপনার ছেলের ভবিষ্যৎ, দেশের ভবিষ্যৎ যদি রক্ষা করতে হয়, তাহলে আজ সকলকে দাঁড়াতে হবে এর বিরুদ্ধে। আমাকে একজন বিদেশি সাংবাদিক প্রশ্ন করেছিল যে এখানে প্রায় যদি হরতাল হয়, হরতাল পালিত হয়, এর মধ্যে থেকে এটাই প্রমাণিত হয় যে তোমার সরকার জনপ্রিয় নয়। আমি তাকে বলেছিলাম হরতাল এখানকার মানুষের মনোবৃত্তি কিংবা তার দৃষ্টিভঙ্গির পরিচায়ক নয়। উদাহরণস্বরূপ বলেছিলাম যে গত কয়েকদিন আগে চট্টগ্রামে একটা হরতাল হয়েছে। চট্টগ্রাম বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কয়েকটি ছাত্র তারা হরতাল আহ্বান করেছিল প্রথমে 12 ঘন্টার। আচ্ছা, 12 ঘন্টার হরতাল হবে কিনা তা নিশ্চিত ছিল না বলে শেষ পর্যন্ত সে হরতালকে তারা 6 ঘন্টা করেছিল, কিন্তু সেখানে 12 ঘন্টায় হরতাল হয়ে গেল। সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার কি? যে পরীক্ষা স্থগিত করতে হবে। তাও চট্টগ্রাম বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের সমস্ত ছাত্র নয়, ছাত্রদের মধ্যে শতকরা 10 জন, শতকরা 10 জন ছাত্র, যেটা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ব্যাপার পরীক্ষা, তা নিয়ে যদি চট্টগ্রামে হরতাল হয়, এর মধ্যে থেকে প্রমাণিত হয় যে এটা জনগণের মত। কাল যদি হরতাল হয় বেলা 12টা কি 2টা পর্যন্ত, ক্ষতি কার হবে? ছাত্রদের ক্ষতি হওয়ার কারণ নাই, তারা লেখাপড়া এমনিও করে না। ইউনিভার্সিটি কলেজ বছরের মধ্যে 30 দিনও চলে না। ক্ষতি হবে কার? রিক্সাওয়ালাটি, যে সকাল থেকে পরিশ্রম করে তার ভরণ পোষণের জন্য, ছেলে মেয়েদের খাওয়া পড়ার জন্য পরিশ্রম করবে, তার পরিশ্রম সে করতে পারবে না। হরতাল আহ্বান করলে হরতাল হয়, কেননা ভাড়া করা কয়েকটি লোকের হাতে বোমা তুলে দিয়ে মানুষের মধ্যে সন্ত্রাস সৃষ্টি করা হয়, তাদের গাড়ি ভাঙা হয়, দোকানে লুটপাট করা হয়, আগুন দেওয়া হয়। সেজন্য মানুষ বাধ্য হয়ে হরতাল পালন করে। হরতাল কিছুতেই আমাদের দেশের জনগণের মতামতের বহিঃপ্রকাশ নয়।
The President unveiled the plaque and formally inaugurated the Kurigram textile mills. He went round different sections of the mill. Our correspondent says built at a cost of 19 crore taka, including a foreign exchange component of about 10 crore taka, the mill has about 13,000 spindles. About 2.6 million pounds of cotton yarn will be produced annually in the mill. Built under Romanian financial and technical assistance, the mill has provided employment opportunities for 600 persons. Minister and Secretary General of Jatiya Party Mahmudul Hassan, Romanian Charge d'Affaires in Bangladesh Lucian Petrescu, and the local area commander Major General Mahmudul Hassan were present on the occasion.
The need for ensuring primary education to 100% children between the age group of 6 and 10 years. She said although education is the key to all development activities, greater section of the population are being deprived of this basic need for long. She said as there is no alternative to mother's milk for the growth of the child, there is no alternative to education for the progress of a nation.
দারিদ্র্য থেকে মুক্তি চায়, নিরক্ষরতার অভিশাপ থেকে মুক্তি পেতে চায়, কুসংস্কার বেড়াজাল ভেঙে মহত্তর ও সাবলীল জীবনের অধিকারী হতে চায়। তাই আমাদের উচিত জনগণের সেই জীবনকে নিশ্চিত করা, তাদের নিরক্ষরতার অভিশাপ থেকে মুক্তি দেওয়া। স্বাধীনতা লাভের পর আমরা অনেকটা পথ পার হয়ে এসেছি। স্বাধীন জাতি হিসেবে আমরা যে সময়ের অপচয় করিনি তা নয়, এখনো আমাদের সমাজে শিক্ষার মূল দাবি পূরণ হয়নি। বঞ্চনার অতীত ইতিহাস ভুলে গিয়ে আমাদেরকে দুর্বার গতিতে এগিয়ে যেতে হবে, শিক্ষাকে ছড়িয়ে দিতে হবে দেশের আনাচে কানাচে। এই ব্যাপারে আমাদের সমাজে শিক্ষিত ব্যক্তিবর্গকে এগিয়ে আসতে হবে, অগ্রণী ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে।
Later, 2 sessions were held to discuss ways and means of accelerating the process of education and overcome the problems facing this basic need of the society.